Welcome back to our final round of Swiss here at Psycho Turtle in Pico Rivera, California for our challenge. Round number 4. These players have different records. There's an up pair here. I can't even break down what might or could happen for the top cut because so much depends on other matchups and also on the seniors, which the seniors are kind of going crazy, and so it's kind of making it difficult for some of that. But in any case, David Ochoa Jr. and Anthony Ascencia. David running the Dozo, Geary, Articuno, the Lola Ninetales, along with that Roaring Moon and Glamora, so a bit of that variant on the Christmas adventures. And on the other end, Anthony running the Gouging Fire, Ting-Lu, Chen Pao, Fluttermane, Ogerpon, Wellspring, and Dragonite. So a lot of physical damage on that side. Has the Howl for the Gouging Fire, and then the Chen Pao with the Sword of Ruin. But a little bit of the flexible stuff around. You have the Vessel of Ruin, Ting-Lu to weaken incoming special damage. And Fluttermane for the special damage. It is Specs Flutter. So, let's see what the choice is here. This is Oblivious Dondozo, which really points to Howl Gouging Fire as a nice way to start going on this one. Could do it with... I guess that's the question, is I don't know what you'd do it with. Maybe even the Ogerpon, weirdly. Which feels kind of strange, because Terra Grass would just wall it out, but you want something that can take a few howls and keep moving, especially because the Gouging Fire might need a Terra just to not get leveled by Earthquake. That's a big concern. In any case, game number 1, Ting-Lu Dragonite on Anthony's side versus the Roaring Moon Glamora. As you can imagine, those are the last two on this team. We're going to see the booster on the Roaring Moon. Probably booster speed, if I had to guess. Yes, it is. Has the Tailwind as an option as well. It's the stuff you would expect from that. And David making a quick lock-in. He's looking to scout for turn number 1 with that double protect. There's the Glamora as well. Anthony went for the Scale Shot into the Roaring Moon. And then the Earthquake, which obviously will not make contact with Dragonite. This is a kind of weird Dragonite set. It's kind of in between some of the other Dragonites we've seen. It is Inner Focus, but it is also Loaded Dice, Scale Shot. It's become more common lately, but in any case... Protects are available for Anthony's side and not available for David's side, which leaves a lot of question in what both players will want to go for here, especially if it is something like a Tailwind Meteor Beam. Especially because a Tailwind Meteor Beam could then be met with a Terra or a Protect on either slot, frankly, even with the Vessel weakening damage here. We're gonna see it. There's the Terra on, I believe that is David's side. Is the Glamora Terra Grass. Going to make it no longer weak to the Earthquake, in fact resistant to it. And Terra on the other side from Anthony. This is Dragonite, that could be pretty big. No, it's gonna be the Ting-Lu. I like that as well. If it is the Ting-Lu Terra blasting the Glamora, that could also be a really nice answer here. This could be good in a couple ways for both these players. It is knock into the Dragonite, does a lot of damage with a crit. Takes out the Loaded Dice as well. Glamora going for the Earth Power into the Dragonite, predicting the Terra on that slot. Doesn't get it. Scale Shot with no Loaded Dice. Does it hit enough times? No, just the 2. Needed a third one to take out the Roaring Moon and just doesn't get it. Ting-Lu going last with the Terra Blast here. Going to launch it into the Glamora correctly. So Anthony basically calling the turn entirely correctly, just not picking up the KOs that might be needed. That is also physical Terra Blast, so it does proc a Toxic Debris. But now the question, Ting-Lu has Terrascalize now. Dragonite is at +1 speed, so it'll be faster than Glamora. Is it faster than Roaring Moon? I would imagine no. Which should put Roaring Moon in a good spot to pick up the KO here. Really would like to get that Meteor Beam up if you are Anthony, or excuse me, if you're David, though. Dragonite, the Dragon types will trade Protects here. Never mind, everybody's gonna Protect except Ting Lu, who's just gonna sit here. Like an Earthquake. Earthquake probably picks up the Glamora from this range, I'd have to imagine. So we get back in a similar spot here as the last turn, except nobody has Protect available except for the Ting Lu. Keep in mind, Extreme Speed is also an option for Dragonite. Could potentially pick off the Glamora with that. Or even potentially go for the Roaring Moon? I don't know. Either way, it can layer a bit of extra damage with that. Potentially try to keep the Dragonite standing, or at least try to make sure to secure both KOs this turn. You can see Dragonite E-Speed, the Glamora does pick up the KO. The second layer of Toxic Debris does get up, so the final two Pokemon on Anthony's team will get badly poisoned on switch-in, but Glamora is down, which is pretty important. Acrobatics will take out the Dragonite, but Ting Lu almost certainly will be able to get rid of the Roaring Moon here. Yep, it's Terra Blast. Should be able to pick up the KO here. And it does. So, final two Pokemon for David. Anthony's still with 3 remaining, but maybe David already got the job done that he needed to. It's going to be Dondozo in the back. Dondozo and Tatsugiri. There's the Ogerpon on the other end. Ogerpon Wellspring. So, a lot of threat going down here. There is the Woodhammer available from the Ogerpon. Earthquake is available. Excuse me, I just keep saying available. Earthquake is an option for Dondozo to try to take out the Ting Lu. But we'll see. This is the Rocky Helmet Dondozo as well, so not as many options to stall out more turns. You don't heal up as the other team takes damage, even if you're getting the poison down. So the Ogerpon will take that first turn of poison damage. And now the question, what do you do if you are David? Do you go for an Earthquake to try to take out Ting Lu? Do you go for Order Up to try to take out the Ogerpon? And boost yourself up to try to win later on in the game? How much do you trust Tatsugiri to get anything done when your Dondozo is gone? 3 Pokemon to get through. On Anthony's side, you can kind of just go into it with whatever you think the best damage is. Probably the Terra Blast and the Woodhammer, I think. David taking his time to think about it. We'll finally go for an Order Up into the Ting Lu. A little chunk of damage down. Will boost the attack, of course. Woodhammer, it is important to see how much this does. Nice solid chunk there. We'll obviously do a nice solid chunk back to Ogerpon, of course, especially with the Recoil and the Rocky Helmet. Terra Blast as well, going into that Dondozo. We'll bring it under half, I believe. Yeah, just under half. Problem is that Dondozo, I mean, Ogerpon's still ticking down to poison, but if Dondozo drops before Ogerpon, this is gonna be awkward for David to try to win that one with just the Tatsugiri remaining. It is Scarf Tatsugiri with Muddy Water, so always an option, always a possibility, but Ting Lu's actually going to switch out right now. Bit of a bold little play here to bring in the Fluttermane. That's the name of that Pokemon. Had to think about it for a moment. I've only seen it like 5 times today. Another Protect from the Dondozo will cause some Poison Tick, but ultimately this does put Anthony in a pretty nice spot for Fluttermane to potentially... I mean, I wonder if it gets a KO off of Dondozo here. And even if it doesn't, between the two of them, they should get the KO, and then there's no way that Tatsugiri is going to be able to take out the Ting-Lu in the back, that's for sure. And Fluttermane should also outspeed the Dondozo, which is pretty meaningful. This could be scary, though, if the Fluttermane's not able to pick up right now. Probably going to be the Moonblast, that's the choice there. Highest damage that Fluttermane has access to. Along with the Woodhammer. David really waiting out his turns, and the Dondozo actually moves first ahead of both these Pokemon. Both drop to the damage. Oh, with the critical hit on the Fluttermane, that is huge for David, getting that crit. Usually you see the Dondozo getting crit, but that time the crit from the Dondozo ended up doing a ton of work. And moving faster than the Fluttermane, that is very surprising. Even at doubled speed, it's either got to be a real fast Dondozo or a real slow Fluttermane to make that one happen. Ting-Lu's back on the field. And we'll wait here. David is really using this timer. Not really to do a whole lot, but really waiting out this one. Spending a lot of time thinking. Of course, have a second game coming. So, spending a bit of time thinking about the moves. So yeah, it's just a Protect. And Ting-Lu will Terra Blast. Not going to do anything against the Protect. And so we'll wait another minute for Dondozo to make its next move choice. Probably the Earthquake, you'd have to guess. Super effective on the Ting-Lu here, so it'll be able to pick up. Earthquake also doesn't do any recoil damage back, which is pretty meaningful. There's the Earthquake coming through onto the Ting-Lu. Will it be enough to KO? It is not, so Ting-Lu does have one more opportunity here. Probably needs a crit here, and even then, I don't know if there's any chance. And no crit. So, the Dondozo ends up getting the job done with a handy crit Earthquake against the Fluttermane, and some nice stalled out turns. Ends up getting the job done. Wonder if Anthony will want to switch anything up in the next game. No Gouging Fire and no Chen Pao in this one. Both options would have given a bit of extra damage onto the Dondozo. Potentially also the Breaking Swipe for the Dondozo as well. That would have rocked Rocky Helmet, but still would have done really good attack mitigation. But in any case, that's game number 1 for David. I believe David's on the side where he will probably make top cut if he wins. But also Anthony certainly has a possibility still, and it's not even guaranteed either way, I think. So we're just going to watch the game and find out. If David wants to switch anything up here, did not bring the Snow guys last time. Makes some sense into this matchup, but also, I mean, Gotta bring the snow guys sometimes if you're gonna have them on the team. I'd imagine it'll be the same 4 for David again, though. Probably in the same order. Certainly got value out of it. I mean, the Glamora didn't do anything, actually, but was able to at least get the... I mean, the thing is, the Glamora literally didn't do any attacks, but the Toxic Debris kind of won the game. And so it feels really good to have that guy around. But it's possible that David will account for that one, or excuse me, that Anthony will account for that one in game number 2. Game number 2. See the leads here. It's gonna be Ting Lu and Shen Pao up against the Dondozo and the Ninetales. So Shen Pao hanging out now. Ninetales will get the snow activated. Vessel of Ruin also going off to see everybody's abilities. Sword of Ruin and Vessel of Ruin, both active. Both are definitely going to help here. Question is, does Ting Lu... I mean, I think if you're Ting Lu, you've got to Terra immediately here. There's just too much damage coming in. And in that case, might as well just try to lay into Ninetales and potentially even Dondozo with damage. Ninetales does have the option to get Aurora Veil active. Keep in mind the snow actually is buffing Shen Pao's defense. I don't know if that's going to end up meaning anything, but it's worth keeping an eye on. So the Earthquake comes through, no Terra from the Ting Lu, actually. Or excuse me, yeah, no Terra from the Ting Lu, just goes for the Earthquake into the Ninetales as the Dondozo protects. So just a bunch of protects, got that Aurora Veil active, but not a whole lot happened in that turn number 1. Now Dondozo kind of has to decide, am I hanging around or not? Do I want Tatsugiri to come in here? How scared am I of taking damage before Tatsugiri is present, especially against 2 physical attackers? Dondozo has much better physical defense than special defense. And with the Aurora Veil up, but at the same time, all that would be true if it switched in the Tatsugiri and started getting the order ups going. You'd be taking even less damage. It's tough to say. The Sacred Sword comes through onto the Dondozo, probably predicting the Tatsugiri coming in. But instead, the Moonblast, going to follow up, doesn't actually pick up the KO. That's shocking, honestly. The Wave Crash goes into the Ting Lu, does a ton of damage, but that'll mean a ton of damage back to Dondozo. And the Ting Lu going for the Throat Chop into the Dondozo, picks up the crit, and that'll KO the Dondozo. Ting Lu will take a bit of damage back, but the Dondozo is gone. That is a big part of David's team that's out of here, but the Ting Lu also drops as well. Pretty crazy turn there. Dondozo for most of Chen Pao's HP and all of a Ting Lu. Which honestly puts David in an adequate spot. Now that I'm looking at it, I think I'd bring out the Tatsugiri here. I think you have the Tatsugiri, you might as well use it. And going for a Muddy Water here could at least clear out the Chen Pao or an Icy Wind if Wellspring hits the field and leave Articuno to win in the late game. But that's with me knowing what's in the back. Articuno will hit the field now. No Terra used on either side so far. Dragonite coming in now. Dragonite does have Terra Steel Iron Head. which is basically custom made for this matchup. Still plenty of Aurora Veil remaining. That's not really a concern at this point. Not a ton of turns of snow left, though, and the Snow Cloak will be a really important part of winning this one for David. I think David's thinking, what do I do? Because you have to assume the Terra Steel Dragonite's coming out right now. And I think the plan is, honestly, try to freeze it. Which I think is a pretty good play, honestly. So there is the Dragonite Terra. We'll probably see a Sucker Punch out of the Chen Pao as well. Just to get a touch of extra damage in. Nope, actually just going to protect, try to stall out a little bit, and try to get the damage up on the Iron Heads. There's Blizzard number 1. Not a ton of damage to Dragonite. Doesn't pick up the freeze. Iron Head comes through. Terra Steel, Iron Head into the Ninetales. That'll certainly KO. And now the second Blizzard. This one is Specs. Bit more damage, but not going to KO the Dragonite either. That means Tatsugiri will hit the field now. Remember, still plenty of Aurora Veil up. So the Sucker Punches won't be doing a ton of damage, but you have to be afraid of that Iron Head. Tatsugiri could Terra here. Honestly, the Terra Steel Tatsugiri I'm not a huge fan of, but in this specific situation, it's honestly pretty valuable. Unless you really want the Articuno damage, but I think the Tatsugiri has to be getting a bit of work done to win this one. Ooh, but you have to keep in mind that what's in the back might be the Wellspring, which would put David in a really awkward spot. You don't want to lock into the Muddy Water right now if that's the case. Oh, this could be dangerous. You may see the Terra here onto the Tatsugiri. There's the little guy. Keep in mind, once the Chen Pao drops, the Iron Head will do less damage, and the Tatsugiri should move ahead of the Dragonite. Dragonite will actually be the one to protect here. Chen Pao Sucker Punches the Tatsu. Not going to KO. Muddy Water comes out. Won't really matter if it hits the Chen Pao. One way or another, Chen Pao's dropping, but it'll drop via Muddy Water. And now it'll come down to whether Articuno Blizzard can take care of Wellspring or not, as well as whether Dragonite, how Dragonite matches up to Tatsugiri. Because that's also the thing, is that Muddy Water is just going to repeatedly heal the Wellspring. There it is, coming back out. We're locked into Muddy Water here. This is interesting. This is really interesting. If David can at least get the Dragonite out of here, we can get into kind of a weird spot where freezes could come into play. Muddy Water coming through, going to heal up that Ogerpon. Although it hasn't taken any damage yet. Dragonite takes a decent chunk there. Ivy Cudgel goes into the Tatsugiri. That's a dangerous play, honestly. Because you are freeing up that slot that would have been doing damage, that would have been healing up the Ogerpon that entire time. Dragonite goes for the Iron Head, does connect, with the Aurora Veil still active, and the Snow, not going to do a lot of damage. Blizzard comes through, obviously double connects, brings Ogerpon down to half. I think David's got this one. Assuming, I think Snow ends here. It does. Assuming that Blizzard connects, I think David's got this one. And I think he only needs... I think he has multiple opportunities to hit a Blizzard here. Okay, well, we're going to wait a little bit. I think this is smart, actually, from Anthony, because you want to stall out the Aurora Veil turns. You need the Blizzard to miss here, if you're Anthony. You really need Blizzard to miss right now. Ivy Cudgel, or Ivy Cudgel crit. Doesn't crit. Blizzard connects. And picks up the KO. And that means David Ochoa Jr., fresh off of a very impressive performance at Merida, will pick up a 2-0 victory and will probably make top cut. I say probably, we don't know at this point. But a very impressive set using the Dondozo. I mean, we've seen the Dondozo Tatsugiri Articuno Ninetales win 2 sets on stream today. I believe both players are probably going to be in Top Cut. I need to make it so that they face the camera better. They'll probably both make Top Cut, so we're going to see even more of it. It's a very interesting combination that we just get to see so much of, and that's what's fun. In any case, we will tabulate the results, we will do our team checks, and then we'll be back with the semi-final round. Don't go anywhere.